All right. Good stuff. Welcome, everybody, to Let's Talk Pastor. I'm Elisha Cho, your host, and today we have Pastor Kurt with us. Kurt, you want to say hi?
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me on this. I look forward to it. It's becoming a weekly thing I look forward to now. Uh,
That's great.
it's a good conversation always. Thank you for having me.
Indeed. It's always a pleasure. And today, it's actually our last episode of 2023. And today, we're going to talk about reflecting back on 2023 and thinking about what is ahead for us in 2024. What a year it's been for many of us. For me, it's been a year of just really learning a lot. There's been a lot of wins in my personal and in my ministry. And also, there's been a lot of learning points that I've been able to receive. And so today, we want to talk about learning points, we want to talk about the wins, and then project about the future. And hopefully, today we'll have those who will join us on the live stream. And if you want to let us know where you're tuning in from, please feel free to like and subscribe wherever you're joining us from. And if you would, if you find this of any value, please feel free to share this as well. All right. Kurt, let's
Yes,
look
yes,
back on 2023. What are
yes.
some highlights? What are some good things that have been happening in this past year?
Oh, so a lot of good things have been happening this year. Let's see. Let's pick out some good ones. So I guess the ones that stand out are, I think, good ones that stand out to me most likely have to do with, you know, I, I can focus on the things that are happening at the anchor or the, I want to, there's been a lot of personal growth actually that happened over this last year because of learning experiences and certain things happening that, yeah, I feel like there's been, and I don't like to talk about it like it feels as though it feels like almost bragging, but I mean it's not. I'm not trying to brag. I'm trying to like just say I feel like there's been some things that I've been praying for years. I'll put it like that. Things I've been
Yeah.
praying for years that have been finally, I'm starting to see little glimpses of that I'm excited about.
Mm.
There's, I mean, there's been some great things happening also at the anchor. There's been some great meetings, great fellowship. Actually, you know what? I do want to talk about one specific group that I've actually been blessed by. So it's this small group on Wednesday night. It's a group of guys that we all had one thing in common. All different walks of life, but one thing that we had in common was that our lives were a complete mess at one point.
Mm.
And this, in the beginning, what we viewed it as was that there was this higher power. We all had that there was this higher power or power outside of ourselves that had, we call it, restored us to sanity.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of started out as a men's support type group where we got into AA literature, we got into some NA literature, we got into things like that. But then I felt called to ask the gentleman would they be open to reading a certain book of the Bible? And I was nervous to ask that because these are not Bible dudes, right? These are not Bible guys. And I asked them to read the book of James. Actually, I said, we're going to get together next week and we're going to read the book of James. And most of them went home and dived into it themselves. And man, they came back and it just resonated with each of them, that book. Yeah. And then when we finished up James, then we're like, well, what's next? We went into what would be an easy book? Certainly not Romans, but that's what we dove into next. We dove into Romans, and it was good. It was tough at times. We had tough conversations, but it was really good. And that group right there has become a personally edifying group. Like it's a group where I go and I feel I'm getting fed as well. I use it as support. I think I've talked about that group. I actually think I even brought them through the Imago Dei material, that material we were talking about last week at a certain point also. And something cool happened last week or 2 weeks ago. So we're actually getting into The Chosen right now. And what happened was one of the guys was like, I forgot exactly how he phrased it, but said that I feel like we should be having more people in here. We should be having more guys in here. And I realized that I wasn't teaching all the spiritual practices, one being evangelism, right? And it's something I take for granted, that I just thought like you just do. And I'm starting to realize that it's not something that I should take for granted, and that I think we're going to start talking about in the upcoming years. So that's going to be fun to get into that type of stuff. Well, yeah, that's just one positive thing that came out of this last year was that group. It's been it's been good for me. How about you?
That's so good. Well, I think you and I both, probably birth of a baby is pretty great,
True.
right? So you and I both are third, right? So I knew you were going there. It's just I was so March, baby comes into the world, new life, right? And that changes because now we're outnumbered. When there were two, we could do man on man, right? But now we're outnumbered. But it's been so good, and
awesome.
seeing my wife raise 3 kids, it's pretty amazing. They have a superpower. All mothers out there, can get an amen, right?
Facts.
So they are able to they are patient, they're kind, they're caring, nurturing. So being a witness to that, and me just helping out here and there, but still very formative, definitely a win for the whole year. And then to see them experiencing first things, crawling, kind of, they would bobble their heads and now they could actually hold up their heads, and being able to flip around, being able to crawl. Now my son's trying to get up and trying to kind of use those muscles, and then I'm looking at that, seeing actually my own spiritual growth. I don't want to try to run before I can actually like do my head. I need to be able to have that enough strength. And so building my own spirituality in terms of seeing my baby grow. And I don't want to say stuff that I can't even do. Like if my baby, who's a 9-month-old, says, I'm going to do calculus, I'm like, you can't even talk, right? You can't even stand up, right? And for me, in the spiritual realm, I think we as pastors sometimes like say some boisterous things that we could never achieve because we've not even learned how to crawl yet. And
I
so,
hear you.
yeah, it's a win, but also a learning point where I'm being very humbled, and
Yes.
growing in that. So, reflecting on 2023, growth of the family, learning from my wife,
Yes.
learning from the baby, learning from these different dynamics, and then oh, seeing the other kids interact with one another. Of course, they fight sometimes. I'm not saying they're
Yeah.
angels, but
Yeah.
when they do get along, just seeing them interact,
Ooh.
seeing them play together, seeing them care for one another, beauty right there. So
Amen.
those are some of the highlights, I guess I would share with you.
Nice. Thank you. And thanks for bringing that back to what's actually important, right? And that's actually something I'm learning this year greatly is I think I've talked about this on the last couple shows my struggles with feeling as though I'm not being the best father, the best
Mm,
family man. Um, and I think that, see right there, why did my brain not go to that first? Why did my brain not go to like the birth of my child first, as opposed to thinking about these successes or things on the outside? That's a learning point from this year that I'm trying to take into next year is
mm,
I really want to focus on building up what God has given me right here. Um,
good.
I could build up out there all I want,
Mm,
but if here isn't taken care of, so
mm.
that's a good reminder. Thank you for that. Thank you for bringing me
Yeah.
back to what's important, and
Praise God.
because
Praise God.
that's the most important thing, hands down,
Mm-hmm.
is that I think at least. So
Good stuff.
that's
Good stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And then I look back on being at an interview where you were at with your family and
Mm,
reconnecting a little bit and being able to, strike up a conversation, and be, you know, uh, just genuinely floored by how the Lord
oh,
has shaped you, and led
right.
you and your
Thank
family,
mm,
and saying, "Man, we got to connect." And so,
yeah,
under
yeah.
the blessing of your pastor, lead pastor, Jeremy, we were able to invite you to DCN, and my people, they're still talking about how wonderful of a time it was in hearing you share your
Blessed.
testimony, your story.
Thank
And this past Christmas Eve service, we're able to take up an offering. And so,
Oh yes,
just being able to
thank you.
kind of participate in our own way with you,
Mm,
no, just letting you know that what you do matters, at the anchor
thank you.
of Hull, and also doing these podcasts with you, and
Mm,
thinking about what this could mean for the
yeah.
future, 2024 coming up, what this could mean for how the Lord could use this format, this method of reaching people and bridging the gap.
Mm,
What would that look like? So I know we're going to go into that later, but that's
yeah.
another thing that I'm grateful for in this past year. How about for you?
Absolutely. So what am I grateful for? I am grateful for learning experiences. I should say, let me say, I'm grateful for the birth of my son, right? So I don't
It's
a get
good.
in trouble, but also I want to make sure. I think it comes with practice. I think that's what it's going to take is practice,
Mm,
refocusing, right? Just like I would
good,
do with
good.
any other thing. But I'm grateful for learning experiences. That's what I'm really grateful for. I'm grateful for not being learning. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for learning to experience the peace of God more. And I don't know if it's from stuff that I'm doing. I don't really think it's nothing I do, right? It's God pouring out his grace on us, on me, on all of us. But I feel like he's been helping me like burn out, refine some things, refine some things that have been, and I'm so far from where I want to be, but I just see certain instances where I would have been like, oh, I would have smacked that dude, or I would have um said something foul. Um, and I think I have a long, long, long way to go. I have certain people I look up to, you being one of them, Pastor Jeremy being one of them. Who else? Pastor Dennis. There's a couple people in my life who like exemplify that slow to anger, you know, bridle their tongue type thing. And I think God has brought me so far this year, and I think I have so much further to go. Um, but you know what? I think that's, the biggest thing I'm grateful for is the refocusing. That's what
Mm,
the most grateful thing I'm grateful for is the refocusing. It's been forced, if I'm being honest, it's being forced on me.
yep.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like, uh, who am I to be out here saying this, that, and the third if my family isn't feeling the love? Um, so I'm grateful for that refocusing. It's not easy, I'll tell you.
Mm,
Um, yeah, it's not easy because it's not easy to hear, right? It's not easy to hear
mm-hmm.
that you're not the best father and best husband. It's not easy to hear those things. But it's also, if I'm being honest, I am uh, a mover. Is that the right word? A mover. It's not. It's harder for me to sit still. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
taking time, and in the beginning when I first started doing it, I felt like I was missing things,
Right.
important things. I'm just gonna be honest. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was
Mm-hmm.
missing, this person needed me and this person needed me, and actually I shut my phone off and this person died.
Mm,
Things like that happened, and I would be like, see, I'm supposed to be da 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 da, but I ain't God. That's probably the biggest blessing I learned this year is I ain't God, and I fell
mm,
short. I fall short, so short.
mm.
So I guess life lessons. That's what I'm grateful for. Refocusing and life lessons. That was a
That's
long
great.
answer to your question.
No, no, it's good. It's good. I think
I,
one of the things that we do as a community here, whenever we end like a Bible study, a small group, or prayer meeting, is that we would say, "Does anybody have one thing that they're grateful for?" And people would
mm,
raise their hands and say, "I'm grateful for my mom. I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful I have a
mhm.
roof over my head. I'm grateful that I'm alive."
Yeah.
And it's a culture of gratitude that we're trying to build in, because if we aren't flexing those muscles and using it, it's
Yes.
easy for us to not go into gratitude mode because it's
Yes.
not innately built within us. We are
Mm,
innately built to complain and moan and groan. And
yes.
therefore, we need these refocusing moments, like you said, to bring us back. Okay, I am grateful. One of the things that I
Mm,
was grateful for this week was, when you go to a supermarket and you find that parking spot, you're like, yeah, thanks
mhm.
God, I got a parking spot, right? So that's not a bad thing. But as I'm pulling out, Holy Spirit impresses on me, well, are you as grateful as you're pulling out as when you're going into that parking spot? And I was like, oh,
Interesting.
I don't
Interesting.
think I was as grateful as finding that parking spot. I think I was
Mm,
like, yep, thanks God, I'm on my way now, pulling out.
yeah.
Even for a
Interesting.
parking spot, right? And to
Yeah.
me, that was another learning point where I got to give thanks for finding those moments of joy, finding those
Mm,
moments of being receiving God's favor. But at the same time, if I don't have a parking spot, I'm still gonna stay grateful, and I actually practiced this coming out of that parking spot. I said, Lord, help me to be grateful, even as I'm pulling out. Help me
nice.
not to let go of that moment of gratitude. And so this has been something that I've been learning and growing in, even with my wife. We try to point out some of the things that we're grateful for one another, right? Because I
Mm,
love you is a good big canvas, big umbrella, but it doesn't cover everything if you don't say it. And so we try to say, I'm grateful for this, and this, and trying to
mm.
share that with one another. And it's been really helping our relationship, helping our
That's
relationship.
awesome. That's thank you for bringing that up. I do need to start doing more of that with my wife. I'm just not. Yeah, I'm not there, and I need to be. That's just something I'd love to. I want to do. I want to incorporate those spiritual practices with my wife again. Uh,
And I
something
know
we
you
built.
will. Yeah,
Thank you.
and I know
I
you will.
appreciate
How
that.
about you name one thing to Rachel that you're grateful for
Mm,
right now? Yeah, just practice it.
yeah, great.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rachel. Um, yeah, I'm grateful for her. Honestly, I'm grateful for her. I wish you knew. I wish I could properly express without making me look like a psychopath right here. How much, how amazing she is. How much she puts up with. Because I do suffer with certain mental health disorders, and I could be kind of sometimes down, and she'll give me a nudge to get back to refocus. Um, and yeah, I just do. I suffer, and she puts up with a lot. I have like my daughter is very much like me. I see myself in my daughter a lot. High emotions, high
Mm,
emotions, and
mm,
emotions. I used to look at first. I looked at it like a strength because that's where a lot of my anger, which means a lot of my power, came from. And then when I got into Christianity, I viewed it as a weakness.
mm.
Um, and now I'm starting to change up again, I would say, to seeing that God can use, or has used those
Yes.
emotions. I just would like to be in better control of them,
Mm.
if that
So if I
makes
can
sense.
rephrase what you're grateful to Rachel for is that nudge, nudge
Yeah,
towards refocus,
yeah,
and hone
yeah.
down on that one thing. Thank you,
Yes,
Rachel, for
yes.
nudging me to
Thank you.
refocus. When I'm down, you pull me
Anytime.
up. When I'm getting too, too lofty, you're able to pull me
Yes,
down back to earth.
yes,
Those
yes,
nudges to
yes.
refocus. And the more we express it. And I love how
Mm,
Keith, hi Keith, thanks for joining today, expressed gratitude
man.
for God's design, right? God opens more
Mhm.
doors. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Mm,
And oh, look at this one. Let's share this one. Gratitude breeds abundance. As soon as
mm.
I think that's express, right? As soon as I express.
Express,
So
yeah.
expressing those things. Thank you.
Mm,
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so true. Many a times we just assume they know. They know I love
yeah.
them. They know I'm grateful for them. They'll know. They don't know unless we
No.
speak it. And because that's how God functions as God.
Mm,
If He did not say, let there be light, we wouldn't experience any light. But
that's
He spoke
interesting.
it.
I didn't even think
He
about that.
spoke
Yeah,
it. He
yeah.
expressed it. And so
Words
we
are
say, hey,
powerful.
oh yeah, yeah, the power of
Words
the
are
tongue.
powerful, huh?
James, right? You were talking
Yeah,
about that before. It
yeah.
has the power
That's
to give
true.
life and to take it away, right?
Ooh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
we need to learn from the Holy Spirit how to use words in a way that is life giving,
Mm,
kind, gentle,
yes.
nurturing, caring words. And even at times, we need to use words in a very direct way because Jesus showed anger when he saw the money changers inside the temple courts, right? People,
Mm,
selling and buying, changing money. And I know that that anger was not a sinful anger, because the Bible
No.
tells us Jesus never sinned. So that
Yeah.
must have been a righteous anger. And he says it,
Mm,
zeal for my father's house. It's zeal.
mm.
And what you share about, your emotions in your previous, ways of anger, I believe God can turn that around to passion for
Yes.
souls,
Yes, I can dig
right?
that because I can't express, um, at least where I am right now, I'm not capable of expressing anger, properly or righteously. I'm just gonna keep it real. Yeah, for right now, even if I am right, right? I just don't have the ability as of right now, and Keith knows. Keith absolutely knows. Keith knows my past. Keith was with me. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Keith was with me in
Mm-hmm.
certain times, right, Keith? We kind
Mm-hmm.
of ran the streets for a little bit together. Um, he understands what I'm saying when I talk about that anger that I had, and so something beautiful. Actually, here's another beautiful thing that's been happening is I've been able to see. I've been able to see someone I would have been angry at. I've been able to see them quicker through what I like to say, like the lens of love or through the lens of God, like how God would view them. And
Yes.
it, like even people who um, I'll just throw one out there. When I first got sober and entered into this walk of life, I had this like self righteousness about me. This holier than thou attitude, and um and so I would look at drug dealers like how like I would be like, man, f that, let them get locked up. Or and then the more I grew, the more that anger dissipated, and the more I was able to see like a hurt person being shaped by a certain, let's say, key factors in their lives that caused them to walk. Because mind you, I sold drugs too, right? Um, I used drugs. I sold drugs. So who am I? Um, yeah, that's something I feel like I would love more of. I would like more of being able to see people through the eyes of love rather than anger. Because when I
I've
express anger, Keith
experienced that.
knows.
Yeah,
Yeah, Keith
well,
knows
here,
what
here you
happens.
go.
The
Keith,
knives come
thank you
out.
for sharing. Very angry at times. I guess that's,
Yeah,
some times that you guys experienced together. And he says,
yeah.
really, it was just a time that we weren't living in the love and the light.
Mm,
And I think many of you listening today, watching today, or later on, will agree that we had those moments. We lived in darkness,
mm,
and I'm one of them. I'm one of them.
yeah.
I was born and raised in the church, but I was very far from living a holy life unto the Lord. And I lived a double life. It was like riding two bicycles at the same time, and
Mm,
two different ways, right? Two different ways, and feeling that split identity, which hurt me and hurt other people. And
yeah.
so I can definitely attest to being angry and frustrated. But what God has done, and this is purely by God's grace, is that He began this transformative work where I began to see myself beyond myself, right? Because I was angry, frustrated, very self conscious, low self esteem, all of those things. So I tried to excel at everything that I did.
Yes.
And I did pretty well, playing sports, doing stuff, studies, whatever. But that wasn't it though, because after getting there, what's next? It felt so
Yeah.
empty.
Mm,
And so from that emptiness, I was desperate to find another thing to get me there.
mm,
But it was
yes.
always this goal of getting nowhere. And
Mm,
finding myself was difficult. And I would get upset at the same kind of people that I used to be, just like you're sharing, Kurt.
Yes.
But
Oh.
why is that though? Why would I get so upset at those people who
Mm.
are trying to, get there and trying to look so smart and push other people? It's because I see the stuff that I was living in through them, and it creates that it's a very bittersweet emotion, because it's
Mm.
wrong, but you feel
Yeah.
such an affinity to it. But now you feel a distaste to it. And so
Yeah.
all of those raw emotions are erupting like a
Mm.
volcano. And if not too careful, we can become very judgmental and point fingers and whatnot.
Yes. Yes.
So
Hey,
I
hey,
resonate.
Zelda.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Here we go.
I just
This is
wanted
a
to say hi to
cool
Zelda real quick.
name.
Yeah, yeah. She's
So,
awesome. Zelda is just an amazing soul. She just does some really cool. Oh man, my man Chinga too. All right, yo, I gotta talk about him. I gotta talk about Keith. Yo, Chinga Keith's on here too. Um, Zelda is just this amazing soul that I met through the anchor, and she's opened my eyes to many different. How do I put it? Um, Different methods. I know that this is gonna. I could get thrown out of the church for this. Maybe hold on. Let me watch my words carefully. Um, but the same light. I'm just gonna put it like that. There's a light, uh, and
mm,
my pathway is my pathway. Um, Zelda's pathway is her pathway. But I think there's something that bridges us, and I think that's love, peace, joy, those
nice.
things. Um, so yeah, I really do appreciate Zelda and her spirit. She's always so inquisitive, always so like uh, interested in people too, which I appreciate
Mm,
about her. Um, yeah,
mm.
frequency of light, absolutely, light. Yeah, it always comes back to light. But yo, so real quick, ready? So my man Keith, that's on this, and Chinga. So Chinga was like me and him, and Keith was in there too. Uh, we had this circle of people, but me and Chinga were in some dark, dark places together. Nah, this
Mm.
is live, Chinga. This is live. So, yeah, I'll start with Keith, and then Chinga. So Keith always had this. He was just always, Keith. This is something I always appreciated about you. Was even in the darkness, you had some joy. You were always
Mm.
like, um,
Nice.
you were always like a positive ray. You always had that light. I could see it in you. Um, yeah, I that's like not in innocence, but that's the only way I can explain it right now is like you I feel like you were just always a good kid, whereas like I felt like I was a piece of crap, right? Like I was just not a good person, and you just always brought some light even in the darkness. So I appreciate that about you. And check it, Keith is doing some big things. God, using him. Yeah, he looked at yes, he did, Shinger, right? He always looked at it like the glass was half full in the worst of times. Like we'd be dope sick, and somehow this kid would be smiling, and I would be like, "Oh, get out of my face with that noise." Um, so it was only a matter of time until he lived into the light, and he's doing amazing things down in is it Arizona, Keith? I think it's Arizona. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, and to see him, same resonance, right? Same. So he's actually this. This was in my background, Keith. I was trying to put this in my background. He's the
Nice.
live the life you love the life you live. Um,
Nice.
just the love being the focus. And yeah, it would get me mad too at times, Chinga. Oh, Arizona, yeah, came back from a 12-step call. He was just out. Keith was just out ministering straight up in the street,
Wow.
right?
Thank you
12
so
steps.
much.
Yeah, man. So 12-step
Wow.
call is in certain programs. It's what we would call like um evangelizing to somebody who's hurting right then and there, right? Like
Aha.
service right then and there, showing them
Aha.
that, this was me, this is me now. The only reason I am this now is because of this power we
Okay.
call God, right?
It's like a
And,
testimony
and
service.
yes, yes, your individual testimony service,
There you go.
because your
Yeah.
testimony speaks volumes, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
uh, I could tell you what I read out of a book, but
Yeah.
to tell you that I saw Chinga on Rikers Island 4 days in, right, Chinga? 4 days in, smelly, sick. Um, oh man, you remember that smell, Chinga? Like you can't get that smell. I can still smell that smell of Rikers Island. Um, and like, look at you now. Mackenzie, his wife, that's his wife, is on right now. Yo, he's got a wife that has the same birthday as my wife. Uh,
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's crazy. Sorry, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but there's just a lot of people tuning in right now that I want to make sure I touch
That's
on. Um,
that's great. That's
yeah,
great.
man. Me and Ching have
Well,
been
you know
through some
what?
tough times.
You know what? I appreciate everybody tuning in today and chiming in. Um, you matter to us. You are
Mm,
the reason why Kurt and I actually do these things. We
yeah,
want to encourage you. We want to
yeah.
stand in solidarity with you.
Mm,
And we're so blessed that you would, comment and share this and subscribe because we really want you to know that God loves you.
mm,
That's the
mm,
reason why I exist and why Kurt exists.
mm.
And that's the reason why you are here with us today. This is really a blessing. And
Yeah,
we want you to know that we have some big news coming up. So stay tuned
yeah,
when we talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
2024, right, Pastor Kurt?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. If you want to get into that too, I'd love to look at do some future dreaming with you too. And
Yeah.
everyone that's tuned in, all my people, smash, share, do all that because again, it's not to boost us, it's not to boost me.
Right.
All y'all
Right.
know that I'm a piece of crap. Like I've been a piece of crap, right? It's not to boost me. It's not to boost
Hmm.
Pastor Elisha. It's to boost
Right.
God. It's to boost that one
Yes.
that has taken us out of the gutter. You know what I mean? And Alan just tuned in too. He's one of the guys in that group that I was telling you about in the beginning of
Wow.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
He,
Wow.
man. Yeah, there's a lot of miracles on this call right now. There is a ton of miracles on this call right now, or on
So I
this
want to
live.
read this comment from Keith. I appreciate you
Mm,
sharing. And a lot of us aren't here in the physical form. I saw what you were doing years ago, Kurt, and it inspired me to find him and acknowledge
oh,
his love. And what I believe Keith is doing, from what I've heard just from today, he is applying that love, which is so
absolutely.
important. Applying it to
Yeah.
himself and to others, and doing that 12-step call, all of those things. That is amazing. And then here,
Yeah.
Alan, Kurt helped me to get back to Christ and help others.
It's my man.
Love you,
It's my man.
right?
Yeah. This guy,
Wow.
this dude right here, Alan, he was uh so at the beginning of COVID when we couldn't gather, and for people like me, actually I think all of us have this. I think all of us are like this. I would claim I'm gonna make a bold claim and say that we all need human interaction. We
Yeah,
need it. And
100%.
COVID really exposed that, exposed the need, and so a lot of us were closed off. And I'll put it like this: there's all right, so all of us need it, but there's some of us that need it to actually breathe. to actually, I would be dead. I would be dead without these people on this call, on this live stream. I would literally be dead. Um, I, Alan was one of those guys who felt that same call, and we had just gotten this. We were starting to build up. The anchor is starting to take off, right? And then COVID happens. Boom, shut down,
Yep.
and everything that Kurt dreamed up got destroyed. And Alan and a couple of guys. It was Alan and a couple of them, but Alan was one of the key members. Just asked. He said, "Can we meet outside your building?" And I was like, "Heck yeah!" I'm like, "I'm not even gonna go. I'll just be real. I'm like, "I'm not even gonna go to my board." I'm like, "Just do it. I'll accept the consequences later." And so they started meeting, and that blew up to what today is a daily meeting, 7 days a week, 365 days a
Wow.
year, every single
Wow.
day at 12 o'clock, and it serves so many people.
Wow.
Alan is, from brokenness to being used by God. That's the story. I think that's like the story of 2023. That's going to be, and I think the story of 2024 is going to be,
Wow.
we're going to see some newer things also, to be
That's
honest. We're going to see
great.
some great things. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. I sense the same sentiment, and
Mm,
even though situations, whatever the pandemic, whatever ups and downs that we faced, greater
mm,
days are ahead for us. I
amen.
believe it. I
Facts.
believe it with all my
Facts.
heart.
Mm,
And all of you watching today or later on, we want you to know this too. Our God has a great plan for you. And
mm,
even though right now we might be hurting and broken, feeling bruised by life, we have hope in the one who has saved
mm,
us. In the one who has saved
mm.
us.
Amen.
And so let's kind of move on to 2024. What are we dreaming? What are we dreaming for
Mm.
2024? Let's dream.
Yes.
And for those who are
Yes.
watching us today, we would love for you to dream with us, and put it in the
Yes.
comments below, because we
Mm.
we want this to be a God dream, a dream that
Yes.
God is dreaming through us and through you. Yeah. So Kurt,
Yes.
lead us there.
There's something when you were saying that, that struck me. Um, I can come up with these. I've come up with some ideas, right? But usually, the best ideas are when where there's some collaboration happening. Um, so that's what Pastor Elisha is asking is y'all got things that you want to see, things that you want to see happen, that maybe things that you want to see discussed on this platform. Pop it in the chat, and we definitely want to talk about those things. But if I may be so bold as to kind of dream myself just a little bit, or not myself, it's funny, it's with Pastor Elisha. Like, this is where one of my dreams is coming from. Um, and it comes from a death, actually, also. Let me put it like that. Uh,
Hmm. Tell us more.
yeah, so I was finding my identity in how well the anchor was doing. Um, I felt like I was being, not that I'm being called elsewhere. The anchor is still always. I don't care. That's something that hasn't changed. I always feel, at least right now, that there's not there. I'm not called away from the anchor. You know what I mean? Like, that's where my heart part, big part of my heart is. But due to financial things that are happening, um, and it felt like a death. It really did. It felt like a death because that was my safety. It was like, uh, I'm feeling called to this over here to do this as well and to do this as well. But I can't. I got to do this. I got to stay focused right here. I got to stay focused right here. And now looking at this we could say negative thing, it was actually a blessing. It's actually a blessing.
Mm.
It's God using it to propel me to propel me to start putting actual teeth, actual steps to
Okay.
uh, different projects I feel called to, and one of them being a live stream, a podcast, uh, and I had started dreaming something up. And Zelda actually was part of it. Zelda was actually a part of that dream. It was a podcast idea where uh, I saw. I, I think what we all see. You'd have to be blind not to see it. Sorry, that's rude. Whatever. Yeah. This division,
Mm.
this division, and I think that what is happening is this. I'm gonna do a little. I may get thrown out of the church, so I'm gonna choose my words carefully. Um, Here, check this out. Ready? So I feel like what we do is this is I think I may have used this analogy before or this story. Feel like I'm over here and we're all three of us are in a dark room and I'm holding on to this thing over here and I'm saying, yo, this is a tree trunk. Um and then the other dude from South Africa is saying, nah, this is a paintbrush. It's a paintbrush. And then another dude from Russia is saying, y'all are crazy. This is a fire hose.
Mm.
And then we start to, say, no, this is a tree trunk. Nah, this is a fire hose. Nah, this is a paintbrush, and I'm ready to stab somebody over this. I'm ready to fight somebody over this, right? Because I'm right? And then we turn
Mm.
on that light, and it's an elephant, right? I'm grabbing onto the
Yeah.
leg, one person grabbing onto the tail,
Yep.
one person onto the trunk.
Yep.
And so I think that, and I'll be honest, this is the part that might get me kicked out of the church, is I feel like I was doing that from the stance of the church. I think the answer is love. The way that I see love is through Christ. I'm just going to say that. That's what I see Christ as love. I see it perfectly expressed through the embodiment of this dude who came to earth. Whether you believe, check this out, ready? Whether you believe he was God or not, we cannot dispute that there was a dude named Jesus Christ, right? None of us can. No one on the chat can. Nobody watching can. You can't dispute that there was a man named Jesus Christ and that he went to the cross stating this, that I am dying for you. I am placing my life on the line for you. I love you so much. Even the person who's spitting in my face, the person who's whipping my back, the person who is selling drugs, the person who is casting judgment, the person who is uh, X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank. He's saying, I died for you.
Mm.
And that type of love, I, that's how I see love, right? And that's my truth. That's what I see as truth. But yeah, so I'm gonna stop right there. I'll stop right there. I'm not gonna go too much further, because I don't want to get thrown out of the church. But I think that others may see it differently. And if I stand the way I used to do it is be like, nah, it's Jesus. It's Jesus. And I'd get in people's faces about it. And I'd get in arguments about it. And I would, and that I still believe that to be true. I'm not gonna. I don't hear me say that I don't believe that to be true. I do believe that to be true. But I think my approach was off. I think I was causing division as well. Going back to the original point of what I was trying to make is I feel like there's this division. And I think the way that we could see, the way that that God has enabled me to overcome this anger or this distrust or this dislike for other people was I had to listen to their stories. I had to hear what formed them, what shaped them. Why do you believe those things? Why are you an abuser? Why do you abuse people? Well, I'm not a statist. I don't have the statistics offhand, but I would make a bold claim to say that 90%, I don't know, 90%, at least, I'll put it like this: 100% of the people, abusers that I know, were once the abused. So,
Right.
and if I want true change, I can't yell at this person because that is not going to change that individual. But what I've noticed is it's a long process, but it's listening to the person. It's hearing what shaped them. It's saying, I hear you. And living life together and not judging them, not accepting the bad behavior, but not judging them. Right. And so how can we do that? And I was like, how can I've been practicing that in my own life, in the people I encounter. But how can we do this on a grander scale, on a bigger scale? How can we reach the most
Sure.
amount of people?
Sure.
And then this idea of a podcast came up. And I started to put some footwork in, and then I got pulled back, got distracted. Let me put it like that. I got distracted. And then an amazing dude got brought into my life, Pastor Elisha, and he just so happened to be on the same wavelength. He just so happened to be on the same wavelength, right? And then I started to dream together. And now I'm going to be honest. I see in 2024, I see, and I want to touch. Can we touch on some of these things that are written? Because there's some amazing ideas.
Absolutely.
But I think
hold on. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go back real quick here. Let's go back. Yeah, Charlie. Kurt, you want to read this for us?
Oh, I can't. I don't want to. All right. So he says, Chinga, or Charlie, I call him Chinga, says, listen, I don't think there's words in the English dictionary to describe how amazing of a person Kurt is. I'm not. He's helped me in so many ways. I would take forever to explain. I truly love, respect, and look up to. Man, please, Charlie, if there's one thing that I hope you hear, because you know me, dog. Like, you know me. Like, you know the real me. Like, you know. Well, no. Let me push back on that. I want to change that. Because I don't think that's the real me. I think that's what the world. I think that's what the world. And I've allowed barriers to shape me into. But it's God, dog. It's love.
Yes.
It's the power of God, right?
Yep.
That's what I'd love to get out there. That's what shaped me.
Well, let's not forget God working through people. God's idea of reaching people with love is through a man. His name was Jesus. And right now, God, through the power of his spirit, is using people to show love to others. And that's why Charlie says again, right? I'll read for you to Kurt. I can't thank you enough for looking out and showing me how it's done. How it's done means how love is done, how you love people, how you nurture people, right? So and he'll be right back. Awesome. Hope
He's
you
in the
can come
target.
back. Right.
Yeah.
And then Keith says 2024, I'm launching another
Yes.
campaign of love. Go on, Keith. Kurt
Yes.
knows what I'm talking about. Collective community love. That's great.
Yes. Right
That's
here. This
great.
is his thing right here. He can I
Nice.
do a little shameless plug for
Oh,
him?
let's do
Uh
this. Let's do this. Yeah.
so my man Keith, and Keith, one of the visions that I have is actually, you're right, Keith. I need to learn how to accept compliments. You're right. I appreciate that. That's one of the one of my downfalls is poor self image. It's poor self image. That's the truth. And to hear a compliment, if it feels like being stabbed. And Charlie knows I've been. Charlie actually one of the. Never mind. Actually, I know it feels. It's as painful as that. Um, to me, at times, it was. And I think there's certain
Mm,
practices that I've been able to incorporate in my life. Um, Listening to positive affirmations, keeping my mouth
mm.
shut. You're right. I need to keep my mouth shut. I need to accept the positive things being said. But Keith, he, thank you, bro. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, dog. Um, so this is Keith's idea, and when I saw this, I was like, bro, I was like, you're speaking my language. So
Nice.
and correct me if I'm wrong, Keith. Live the life you love the life you live. Right? Is that correct me? And I'll keep going on what it is. Um, but I think I love his idea, and if I do still want to partner with you, Keith, in some way. I don't know how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. I would love one of the ideas actually is part of the podcast idea is I'd love to have guests on. I want to have people on here from all walks of life
Mm,
that maybe speak the same language of love, just in a different dialect. Um,
mm.
I think that's the best way I could put it. But so the way Keith is planning on doing it is starting this ill clothing line that I got the shirt in. I got his shirt. I got his hat. I got a couple of his things, and I love the logo. It's simple. It's straight to the point. It's love, bro. It's the only thing that matters.
Good
And I
job.
think he's trying to form a community, right, Keith? You're trying to form a community, so it's not just a clothing line. It's a
Mm,
movement. It's
mm.
you rock this. You're going to be an ambassador of love, and I love that concept because I think that is also what everybody is called to. I believe that if we all could just shut our mouths for 2 seconds, hear the other
Mm,
person, all they're
mm,
really shouting is, I want love. I want love.
mm,
I don't know. That's all
mm.
I hear. So,
I appreciate how you're coming at this, Kurt, because I'm interpreting it in my own worldview. Because even if we see or hear the same things, it's all filtered through a worldview. When
yes,
you talk
yes,
about the dark room and the trunk and the brush, and yeah, yeah, I hear you. We're talking
yes.
about the same thing. But even
Mm,
when people say love, based on your
mhm,
worldview, it's going to look
mm.
so different,
Yes, yes.
right?
But
And that's where
so,
we need to begin to talk about
yes,
how do you define love? What is your definition?
yes,
How
yes,
has this
absolutely.
definition been formed in you? Where did you learn it? Well, my third grade teacher told me that love is all about just having a lot of sex. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's one part, one portion. Yeah, of course.
Mhm, mhm.
Intimacy between a husband
Yeah.
and a wife. That's great. Nothing wrong with it. It's a beautiful thing. But there must be more than sex, There must be
Yeah.
more than just this rush of fleshly desire. There must be more, because
Mhm.
it's not just a fleshly concept. We're talking about a spiritual concept. And many people just kind of say, well, love, it's just about love songs or love stories or things like that. Love, you need to invite and allow yourself to be opened up, and that's part of listening and sharing. Open yourself up to the realm of God's unconditional, limitless, boundless love.
Unconditional.
And we're talking about it. We're saying, hey, let's open open it up. And maybe some people are too hurt to even have the courage to love again, because they think,
Yeah.
well, I've been betrayed. I got stabbed in the back by this, person that I love. And there's healing when you talk about it, when you open it up. And I
Mhm.
love the fact that you share about having a low self-image, because that's what I struggled with, and sometimes I struggle with, and only by God's grace I'm overcoming it.
Mhm.
Because receiving a compliment, what does that mean? Right? Or giving a compliment, because some people are good at giving gifts but are never good at
Yes.
receiving gifts. Some
Yes.
people are so good at receiving gifts, but are so stingy at giving gifts. So, how do we bridge that? And I think what you're getting at
Mhm.
is having conversations, being
Yeah.
known, being heard, being valued, being cherished by the love of God at the center, and just hearing each other out. Because, we need a platform. We need a
Yeah.
space where people can begin to share and be listened to, because that's actually opening up that gateway for them to at least ponder about the possibility of what my definition of love might have been a little bit wrong, a little bit,
Mhm.
partial, a little
Partial.
piece of the big puzzle.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I'm
Absolutely.
hearing.
I think that's the best way. That's. I think that's because what I was doing also was saying, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. And I was, when I view it now, how I love how you just partial, like it's a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Like intimacy, absolutely a piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Expressing expressing it through service work, loving
Yeah.
on people,
Sure.
hearing a person. It just what yes, and I think we need to define or maybe hear. And I'm open to being wrong too. I am open to being, or maybe wrong is the wrong word. I'm open to expanding my uh, idea of love, because when I was closed off, I found that I was a part of the division as well. But when I was open, like even if we disagree, check this, even if I disagree on what an individual is saying,
Mm-hmm.
there is a piece of me who, how do I put this? Even though I disagree, it doesn't make that person wrong,
Mm-hmm.
because it's from their stance, what has shaped them and what they've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So like, um, yeah, I think we're gonna get into some tough, and I think actually I may get in trouble with the church with some of the things I've come to believe, but I do believe ultimately that for me again that it was expressed through this dude Jesus. It was through this. That's who I see. That's who I try to follow. Do I listen and read from other people? Absolutely, 100%, because I think that God can use anybody. Um, but he for me is just this perfect example of selfless love that I fall short of, because I don't think I can. I'll be honest. I don't think I can do that. I feel like I have hurt more people than I've helped when I try to live like that. And I'll explain why. Because I'm not God, first of all. That's first and foremost, because I'm not God. Um and I so I'll be out loving, 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 loving. Then my family is not getting loved. right? My wife, my children. So they were getting the short end of the stick. I would be out there serving, not taking care of myself, and then coming home and being like this. And my wife like just looking for a
Yeah.
conversation.
Right.
Just my kids wanting to be hugged, wanting to
Sure.
play. Daddy, can you play? And I literally my brain is so drained that
Mm.
I'm like I'm like I can't.
Mm.
So that's something I'd love to learn, and I think I am learning, is self incorporating a lot of self care. You know something I saw on the do you know The Chosen? The it's a TV show. Have you heard of it?
I have not. I've heard of it. Many people have
Okay,
recommended it. I have not watched it.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. First time that I've seen Jesus, and okay, so I'll put it like this: I a lot of Christian stuff. If I'm just being honest, I don't click with. I'll just put it like that. I don't click with. I'm like, it just doesn't
That's
resonate in
fair.
my soul. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
With this is the first time that I was like, wow. I was like, that is what I see here. That's
Mm.
what I was finally like, that's the Jesus that I see. And
Mm.
you know what? A line, a couple of things that stood out to me was like, they'll be like, yo, where's Jesus? And like, oh, he's just gone again. He's gone again. He's off by himself again. And what is he doing in those moments? And the way I interpret it is he's off spending time with God. He's off getting
Mm.
replenished. He's off getting refueled. He's off feeding because he again I believe this weird concept, right, of he was fully God, fully man. Like I don't understand how that works, but whatever. He was this dude that experienced this, that experienced the tiredness of service, that
Yeah.
he experienced all that, um,
Yeah.
but yet he lived it perfectly, and I want to learn from that. So I see self-care as important. Yeah,
I
in
agree with you.
2024.
I agree with you. And I
Right.
have not watched The Chosen. And I'm okay with
Mm.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
But from what you're saying, he's gone again. Isn't that family time?
yeah, yeah,
He's gone again.
yeah,
He's spending
yeah.
time with his dad. He's
Facts.
spending
And
time
that's
with
how
his
he says
father,
it. Yes,
right?
absolutely.
To
Yeah.
me, Jesus lived a perfect life because he was in perfect balance. He
Mm,
knew the Father's will and he did it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
although, yeah, because he had flesh, he was tired at times and he experienced hunger
Mm,
and thirst, all of that. He was able
mm,
to fulfill God's mandate because he had that family time, that intimacy, that time with God.
mm.
And to me, if I'm a monster at home, I can't be in the ministry. If I have
Yes.
disunity, disorder within myself,
Mhm.
then how can I ever lead other people to order?
Mm.
I'm a hypocrite.
Can I
And
can I
so, yeah.
push actually, no, no, sorry, finish your thought. Sorry, I cut you off. Sorry.
Yeah, so I don't want to leave a legacy where my kids say
Mhm,
he was good at preaching, he was good at doing all the
mhm,
stuff at church, but my dad was never present for me at home. He was just always tired. I I don't want to leave that kind of legacy because my legacy is my family. They're my first disciples.
yeah, and
And even
I've been
today,
feeling
even today,
mm,
and I say this with humility. I was sitting down for lunch. I think it was breakfast. Yeah, with my family,
mhm,
and I said, Leo, we only have about 10 years with you. He's 8.
mm,
CJ, we only have about 14 years with you. She's 4, right? And
mm,
then the baby, we only have about 11 years and a couple of months with you. Sorry,
yeah,
17 years and a couple of, and so just knowing that there's going to be a time when I'm going to have to let them go off. But what if there's a bad aftertaste that my dad was a pastor? He's a pastor. He's great out there. He can, preach up a storm, whatever. But
mm,
at home, he's not present. He's always tired. He doesn't play with us. He doesn't answer to my knock knock jokes. You know,
Mm.
because my son's gone into those knock knock jokes, right?
And I love that.
Right.
Love it,
So
man. Yeah.
that's my thought. But how
Yeah.
is it for you?
So so here's something that I was learning, and I learned it from. Okay, so I'll just walk you through the learning progress. So that I was a pastor or a ministry intern pastor, whatever you want to call it, down in Taunton, and I thought that I always had to be the man. I thought that um, I cannot show
What
weakness.
does being the man mean? The man.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means. Because that can
So
mean
I
many things.
yes, yeah, absolutely. So I thought that I had to be the perfect. Actually, I'll put it like this: I felt like I had to be the perfect Christian. I had to be, um, in terms of show. Like, how do I put this? If I if I want people to follow, then I have to always be on point. Um, and what that led to for me, and I don't think that's a bad aspiration. I think that's a great goal. Um, but for me, the learning experience I had in that process was um, I got very angry. I got very resentful. Um, I felt like I have to do this. I have to. Why aren't you doing this? I wasn't doing it right. I was missing the mark. I felt like, look, if I look back, you guys know what a Pharisee is. Um, I felt like a Pharisee. Basically, what I mean by that is, I felt like I was living the show, and I was the man. I was the one you should be looking to and should be like, and I should. But I never showed weakness. I never showed that I my struggles. I didn't. I was like, no, God healed me. I'm healed. I'm done. I'm delivered. And I do believe again there is some truth to that, right? Um, I don't know if I'm expressing myself properly. The best way I can explain it is that I looking back, I was a Pharisee. I lived the letter of the law, but my heart was not pure. I'll put it
Hmm.
like that. And then when God allowed me to get smashed, I got I injured my back. Um, got back on painkillers. Um, I remember one time we had one of the ministries that the great Kurt started, um, and it was like serving the town of Taunton, and there was like hundreds, if not that, people coming to this event, and I'm carrying bags of ice, and everyone's like, "How are you doing that? Doesn't your back hurt?" And it was because I was in the bathroom stalls. Either I don't remember if I was snorting or I don't remember what I was doing at the time, but I was getting high on painkillers, illicitly, not doing it the way it was prescribed. And I just remember that. I remember, and I felt like such a fraud. I felt like such a fraud. Um, and so then I went into this. I promised when I went into my next ministry that I was going to be open with everybody about my failings. I was going to be. I wasn't going to put myself up on this pedestal, and I was going to do a peer-to-peer model. And I think that worked for a while. Uh, but I think that, and I'll tell you where I failed in that, and I think that there needs to be a combination of both. I'll explain why at
Hmm.
the very end. Um, so this peer-to-peer model, and I let everyone in on my failings, right? But then what ended up happening was I was sharing my pain, with others who were looking to me for an answer and who were in just as much pain. And instead of going into the light and healing, fully healing, I lived down there, if that makes sense. I lived in like, and that was the period of time when I was saying screw the church and certain things like that. I was like, I bucked, there was a lot of anger inside of me. So both times I experienced a lot of anger.
Okay.
And so I think that I have gotten learning experiences. And I think this is what I'm coming to now is I feel as though I am called to when I heal. Maybe that's what it is. I have my group of men and women who I do confide in, who I do work through these things with. But usually what I'm noticing is those guys, like my Wednesday night group, when I'm down, they're up, right? So we're not both just talking negatively, but they'll be
Mm.
like, I'll be like, yo, man, I just got my salary cut. Do you believe this bull crap? Like, da-da-da-da-da. And then they'll be like, man, I started my job at 36, my career at 36. This gentleman who I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope to God at 50 I have what you have. So anyway,
Mm.
it's they lift me up, but I don't think I need to express that to everybody. I think I need to
Mm-hmm.
have my group.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do feel, and this is going to sound arrogant, I'm trying to figure out the right way. I do feel that I've been called, I'm not special, I'm not better than nothing. I just feel like I'm called to a certain piece of the body, right? I'm called to do a certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes along with a lot of responsibility. It
Right.
comes along with a lot of being wise. And I feel like all those learning experiences from 2021, 2022, 2023, especially 2023, I learned a lot in 2023. And my
Mm.
hope is that in 2024, um, I can embody that love, show, like yeah, I am weak. I am human. I am da 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 da. But when I was here, I looked towards this. I looked towards God. Perfect example. Can I give an example? Ready?
Oh,
This
go for it.
weekend, this weekend, I was uh I have gotten my first time away with my wife in 7 years. And that first of all can't happen. That's something I'm learning. That can't happen. That's not going to happen. I'm going to do it more often because I need that. I need that to build me up. And so, financial insecurities creeping in. I just got my last full page. I'm gonna actually. Is that something? See, these that I need to be wise. Do I share? Yes, I'm gonna share that because it's gonna prove a point right now. I got my last full paycheck yesterday, Friday, right? So financial insecurity is just, the devil is like he sees his in, and I allow it. I allow it, right? He can't get in unless I allow it because I got the spirit of God.
Mm.
I can't unless I allow it.
Mm.
And thank God I was away with my wife, the perfect image of love for me. And
Mm.
and people kept telling me, stop focusing on that stuff. Focus on your wife. Stop focusing on that stuff. Focus on your wife. And so I I went on this little roller coaster ride. Ready? So financial insecurity. I got an answer to my financial insecurity. Right? I got an answer, and then that answer was not the answer. I'll put it like that. That
The
answer
answer was unaccepted.
unaccepted. Yeah, we'll put it like that. It was not
Okay.
accepted. Um, And so it was like this roller coaster ride. It was like, oh, yes, I'm going to be fine. Oh, no. And then I got very angry. And it was about 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning. I was lying in bed next to my beautiful wife in a beautiful room in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and I'm just angry. And my instant reaction was to be like, lash out, Kurt, lash out. Tell people how angry you are. Let them know. And something I learned that from what I was just saying, I reached out to a person who I have trusted to hold this stuff. And he said to me, pray, meditate right now. And he also said, focus on your wife. So instead of responding to the email, which I feel I would have been righteous, I would have been, and I would have let them know how I felt. Instead, and it was about 6 o'clock when this was starting to happen, and I put down both my phones. I put on some. I listen to this thing called binaural beats. It's something that helps my ADHD. It's a healing tool. It's music. It's something that God uses, and I meditated. And I begged God. I said, God, please help me to not be angry. God, please help me to focus on what's important. And then I went back into a meditation. And then I asked him again, because I literally felt it start to dissipate a little bit. And then I did send a text. But that text was, I need time to process. Instead of being like, screw you, it was like, I need time to process. You are my brother. I love is not a feeling. I mean, it partially is, but it's a choice, and I choose to love you. I didn't write. I wrote, "You're my brother, and there can be no contention between us. So just give me time to process. Let me pray and meditate." And that's what I went back into. I went back into prayer and meditation, and then my beautiful wife woke up, and then we had an amazing day where I had this awesome interaction with this dude who was experiencing homelessness, and I got to hear his name. His name was Jeff, and I got to hear a little of his story, and we just had an awesome time. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I lived into that anger, if I stayed in that place of anger and animosity.
It's powerful.
Yeah, so it's love can absolutely transform. Why did I start talking about that? I don't remember why I started talking
You were
about
going to
that.
give this example. You said, I need to give you this example
But
as you were talking
why?
about love, right?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. And that's how God has transformed you. It could have turned into a very sour situation
Very.
into a sweet into a sweet situation where you found the peace that God had for you. And when you
Yeah.
have that peace, then you can have peace with
Mm.
others. When we
Yeah.
have peace with God, we can have
Yes.
peace with others, even in difficult situations. And
Yes.
I've experienced that in my own journey too, because
Mm.
sometimes people, let's say I lash out on a person that they had no idea what kind of day that I've been having. They have no
Mm.
idea what kind of trauma response I'm giving. And they just feel like, wow, that person just blew up on me. I have no
Yeah.
idea what they're doing. But when I have peace with God and I don't explode on people, but I need to
Mm.
know where I need to explode. I need to let that trauma, the triggers,
That's
the
yes.
troubledness of my
Yeah.
own soul, it needs to be designated to the one who can actually carry it, who can actually heal me
Amen.
from it.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
talked about healing a lot. I agree with you. This healing is a process. To someone
Yes.
who told me about this trigger point, it triggered my trauma, and therefore I had to respond, and I had to do that. I just reacted.
Mm.
And I said, yeah, that's actually what all of us do. All human beings would do that. But there has to be some kind of difference between a Christ follower and just a normal person who doesn't know Jesus. The Christ
Mm.
follower doesn't respond to the triggered trauma we are triggered by truth. And so
Mm.
instead of trauma getting in the way, we let truth overtake that trauma. And when we respond to the truth, then that begins to heal us and free us and give us the victory that we need in that moment. Now, this might sound
Yeah.
all like, oh, that's just pie in the sky stuff. I'm
Yeah.
experiencing it in my own life. I'm just giving you my own story. Pastor Kurt just gave you his story. But we need to know what we're called to do. I mean, in that story that you just shared, you're spending time away, first time in 7 years, and I agree with you, and I'll try to keep you accountable that that ought not to be the case. It should be a regular thing, right? That you spend time.
Amen.
And so if that would have been if that was taken away by your own choice with the anger and frustration of the situation, man, that would have
Mm.
been a huge victory for the enemy and a huge blow
Yes.
to you and to your family.
Yes.
But God, I love that. But God, by His
Good
grace,
God.
by His
Yes.
mercy, right? He
Mm.
swoops in, through somebody that you reached out to focus on your wife, do your Bible reading, do
Yes.
your meditation, do your prayer, whatever, right? And
Yes.
because you are able to receive that wisdom and
Mm.
you saw that wisdom applied, then everything changes. Where now you're able not only to focus on your family, your wife, but also you have enough generosity to be able to reach out to a person, who needs help, and you get to know his name and pray for that person and whatnot. So the enemy wants to bring bad, wants to bring about evil, wants to bring about that we feel like we are helpless and choiceless, but that is a lie. We have a
Facts.
choice.
Facts. Yes.
I have a choice today. I have a
Mm.
choice. And I can say no to the enemy, reject his lies, and I can accept the truth. This is what
Mm.
God wants for us, to accept
Yes.
the truth and to be set free, to reject the lies because it does no good. It always,
None.
the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So I just want to say, yeah, let's celebrate those victories. And in the
Yeah.
upcoming year 2024, with these dialogues,
Mm.
maybe the people who are watching and people who will be affected by this, and we want your
Mm.
feedback too, in that they might see Pastor Kurt and me getting healed, live streamed,
Mm.
like getting healed,
Mm.
sharing about those things. And I can resonate with you about those two positional things where you kind of feel like you're a Pharisee, you always have to live up to that standard, or you're with the people. It's neither.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
neither. Right? We're
Mm.
not called to be religious people anyway. We're called to
No.
be in relationship, a person of
Mm.
relationship, right? And so we focus on the vertical relationship, God's love to us and our love for Him,
Mm.
and then the horizontal of loving our neighbor as we love ourselves. We live in that balance. Now, that doesn't mean
Mm.
we open ourselves up to every single person. They're not going to understand anyway. But we do
No.
have some
No.
close people that we
Mm.
walk together and we trust, and we've earned that level of trust, earned the right to speak into each other's lives, and we walk with them. But at the
Yeah.
same time, we're called to a higher standard. There's no doubt
Amen.
about it. The
Yeah.
Bible's clear on that, and so we
Yes.
must, come under the authority of God's word in that aspect. So I agree with you. I agree with you.
And another beautiful thing that came out of that was I got clarity on 2024, right? I got clarity on
Yes.
2025. All of a sudden, that anger or that what seemed like a failure or what was going to keep Kurt down, right? God used it to say, "Yo, remember what I was just placing on your heart over here? Oh,
So
remember what I was
good.
placing on your heart with Pastor Elisha? Remember what I was placing on your heart
Mm.
with your man in Florida? Remember what I was, there was certain things that I'm like, I will A, be provided for, and B, I got exciting times coming up with my people.
Wow.
So
So
it was,
good.
yeah, it was definitely life giving. So
That is so
definitely
good.
blessed,
That is
man.
so good.
Definitely blessed.
I am also excited about the new year if the Lord leads
Mm.
us into a brand new one. 2024, I'm praying that God would allow us the wisdom and the strength
Mm,
to connect people, with God and His love. Maybe it's people who have never even heard about the love of
mm,
God, but to hear their stories, and I'm generally genuinely curious about
mm.
listening in and learning, because I believe every single soul has value because they've been
Every,
created in the image of God. And
mm,
so the imago Dei, right? That's the stuff that you
yes,
use, and
yes, yes.
genuinely connecting. And it doesn't have to be where I want them to believe the way I believe at that moment. I just want to make friends.
Yes,
I
yes,
want to come
yes,
meet you.
yes.
I want to come
That's
hear
where I've
you.
learned, man. That so, and actually, maybe we could talk about this more afterwards. But that's one of the beauties that I've learned in the new way that I do uh, what I'll call the Christian word is evangelism or ministry, right? Is I understand the traumas, I
Mm,
understood, God enlightened me that there has been a lot of trauma from the church. And it's just the
right.
reality of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially in our context up here in New England, I know everyone watching can knows what I'm talking about. And so I decided to try a new method, and that method was I just want to have a relationship. That's it. I just want a relationship. I
Hmm.
don't need you to come to my church. I don't need you to uh let's see. I don't need you to say the name Jesus. I would love to now don't hear me saying I would love you to have this relationship that I have with Jesus. I want everyone to have that.
Sure.
Um, but I found that the best way for people to experience that was I just needed to love them tangibly. Um,
Hmm.
that's it. Just share meals, watch the game together, um, go to their mother-in-law's funeral, go to their son's wake, uh, um, and 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 when appropriate, God enabled me to say, "Listen, it for me when I hear this or when I experience that in my own life,
Hmm.
God said, yo, don't be anxious. Don't worry about nothing, right? He takes care of right. You see the birds, man. They ain't worried about where their next meal is. So why am I
Right.
worried, right? And I was able to just input, and I say that's for me. You're gonna have your own experience, and if you it's beautiful, I love that. But I found it the more if my goal was to just love the more people entered into a relationship. I'll put it like that.
Okay.
And if they don't enter into a relationship, I didn't turn my back on them either. I
Oh,
still
sure.
continued to love on them. They're still part of my circle and blah blah blah. But I think your testimony is the most powerful way of showing people the love of God. That's
It
just my
is.
own
And in
experience.
my own studies, it's actually
Mm.
been proven that one
Yeah.
person, in order for one person to turn to Christ and
Mhm.
surrender to Jesus and give their lives to Him, they need about 7 to 8 different people on 7 to 8 different
Interesting.
occasions to share the
Mm.
love of Christ with them. So you could
Okay.
be number one on the roster, and they can
Yeah.
still say, "I
Yeah.
don't want what you have," and that's fine.
Yeah.
Build that relationship, have meals. They could be the second person that comes along the way, and by God's providence, someone number 8, number 7, and they're like, "Yeah, you know what? I have been hearing like 7 different people have been talking about Jesus, and I just can't get
Yeah.
him out of my mind." And
Mm.
so I don't care if I'm number three, because I used to get discouraged when people wouldn't, just accept the message and
Mm.
say the Lord, the sinner's prayer. But I
Yeah.
was too naive. I mean, I'm not the savior.
Mm.
Jesus is the savior.
Yes.
Holy Spirit does
Amen.
the work. I'm just a messenger. I'm
Yes.
just the mailman,
Yes.
that brings the good
That's it.
news, right?
Right.
And I let God do the work. His word is powerful,
Mm.
and His word does not come back void. And so I share that
Yes.
God has a plan for you, and He loves you,
Mm.
and I want to be friends with you.
Yeah.
And people have this disdain for church people, and you push them
Yeah.
away, and bad, are
Yeah.
you going to bash me with your Bible? And I'm like, no,
Mm.
I don't believe in doing that. But
Yeah.
Jesus, came as a friend to the sinners, right? The tax collectors and the prostitutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they felt clean enough to come to temple. So that's why
Hallelujah.
Jesus came to them.
Yep.
And I love that about
Amen.
Jesus. And what I've
Amen.
shared with you is, Jesus came to the well to meet that woman, the
Mm.
woman at the well, the
Mm.
famous one, right? But
Yeah.
where is the well today? Where are the people meeting today? Where are the people getting their water today in today's
Huh.
sense? And I would say it's meeting them on this kind of platform, meeting
Yes.
you,
Yes. Social
right?
media.
Connecting people from who live in Arizona, people tuning in
Yes.
from different parts of New England, people tuning.
New York.
This is the well, New York. Wow, that's
Yes.
great.
Yes.
This is the well. This is the
Mm.
well. So we want to come to the well. And that's one of the visions for
Mm.
2024. And I want to ask all of our people who are watching today or maybe watching later, if you have ideas that you want us
Mm.
to pursue and talk about and get out there, we really want to get good content, like
Mm.
wholesome content out there where it gives hope to people. There's
Yeah.
plenty of
Yeah.
bad stuff out there, but we really want to share what we have experienced, and we'll share our experiences with you as we grow, and
Yeah.
hopefully you'll grow with us in that
Yes.
journey.
Love,
In that
love
journey.
that.
So I'm excited for 2024. Excited.
I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any final
There's a
thoughts,
couple
Kurt?
of
Before we?
things in
Yeah.
there.
Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
There's a couple things in there. Vicky, I don't know if you're still on. She was saying 2024, praying for happiness, love, and love, not for it to appear, but how to achieve, create, notice, and feel it, not only with myself, but with my family and friends, and health and strength, not to give up on dreams. Man, that is,
Mm.
yes, absolutely. I pray that absolutely, Vicky, for your life. And the truth of the matter is, there, how do I put this? It's already done. Like it's already possible. Like you have the ability. We have all the tools necessary. It's just learning kind of how do I incorporate these tools into my life? How do I live into the victory? And I'll use some Christian language, right? How do I live into the victory of the cross, right? Um, uh, that's again for me, for my walk. That's how I saw it. I know other people may express it differently. And then there was Alan said, people need to be heard. Many people need to be listened to. If you listen, you could hear the pain and help them heal. So I'm hopeful, like that's something I want to do. I want to invite people on that have pain, that or just everyday people, right? Um, and even if they're not, if I might be I might be we might need to talk about this off the air. But like even if they have different views, I'm gonna keep it real. I would love to have conversation with a Muslim brother. I would love to have conversations with a Jewish brother or sister. I would love to have conversations with atheists. I would love to have convers. I want to hear um, why, why, and this is gonna might get me in trouble. Um, Let me choose my words wisely. I feel as though that like when I listen, I'll put it like this: when I listen to an atheist, or talk with an atheist, or fellowship with an atheist, or I fellowship with a Muslim, fellowship with Buddhist, I really do hear, and maybe that's just what God has given. I hear certain same desires. I hear um same some practices actually. I hear certain similarities, and I'm willing to say, all right, well, this is what I believe, and that's what you believe. That's cool. Like that's dope. Um, but I want to. I don't think that there needs to be war. I don't think that there needs to be animosity. I don't
Hmm.
believe that. I don't think we'll ever win people to love. Uh, Through animosity. That's that. I just don't think that there should be crusades, right?
Hmm.
It's insane to me. So yeah, that's something. That's a vision and a dream. I would love to have all types of people, uh,
Hmm.
in dialect with all different types of people and hearing how do they worship, how
Mm-hmm.
and who are you worshiping and why are you worshiping? Because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll leave it at that. Actually, that's I'm very
Yep.
interested in hearing that. So I just want to thank Pastor Elisha actually that he's even given me the opportunity to join him. Uh, and I say this every time, yo, y'all need to get to know this man. Um,
No, stop it.
I know, but I'm serious. I'm serious, dog. Like there is a certain love that comes off of him, caring about others, or at least I've experienced this. So yeah, I'd love for people to get to know him as well, and I'm grateful
Hmm.
for the opportunity. Uh, and I think we're go. I think this is going some. I think this is. I think God is taking us somewhere on a certain path.
Well, I am encouraged to receive that compliment, so I'll accept
Mm.
it with
Yes.
humility. But we all know it is the grace of God, and I'm pleased that you sense something of a caring spirit within me. It's because
Yeah.
I've been cared for by a loving
Mm.
mentor that would embrace
Yes.
me, even with all my
Yes.
dirt and
Yes.
badness and darkness
Yeah.
and that love came through a person. God's love came through a person, and
Yes.
hopefully I can love people. I mean, if I could love half as well as my mentor, that would be pretty amazing. I know
Mm.
I can't go there, but in my
I
own
get
way,
it.
showing love, extending care, and sharing what I've been learning. I think sharing learning points is a great way to learn to grow together and grow together. And thinking of this as a collaboration, a partnership. We're building the kingdom of God together. And I'm
Mm.
really pleased, Pastor Kurt, that you have allowed me to kind of, come into your life and ask you
Thank
questions
you.
and learn from you and know that I respect the man of God that God is forming and shaping in you and through
Thank
you, and never forget the ones that have spoken into your life,
you.
Pastor
Mm.
Jeremy and all of your
Yes.
people around
Yeah.
you. I'm grateful
Yes.
to God uh, for them in your life, and then you're in my life as well, and we're doing this together.
Mm.
And looking forward to
Amen.
2024, and especially when times are hard, times are tough, when our salary gets cut, using your language,
Yes. Yeah.
when financial difficulty comes our way, this could be the precipice of God opening up something brand new that we had never
Yes.
experienced before. So I
Yes.
just want us to really dive deep into that hope,
Mm.
because, like you said, the birds do not worry about their next meal, and the lilies of the field do not think about the next fall winter collection, because God clothes them and the birds are fed by them. Then how much more? Then our perfect Father in heaven will feed you, clothe you,
Uh.
feed me, clothe me.
Mm.
We got to
Mm.
trust in that. And I do.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
My life has been a testimony. I don't have time to share it now, but I believe in it. And I trust in that.
Yes.
I trust in that.
Yes.
So we have nothing to worry about. We'll find a way. God will provide.
Mhm.
And I'm excited for our 2024. So thank you
Yes.
for joining us, everybody. Thank you for putting up in the comments and chat. If you have any ideas for a podcast name, we would love for
That
you
I
to
was
share with us. Right? Like the
man,
podcast.
that's God.
Think about the name. Yeah. Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
was literally I wanted to say that and you said it. Yes. Yes. That's how I know it had to get out there.
Sure. So
I
if you
love it.
have a name, I know Pastor Kurt has many names, and I've been trying to come up with names. So that's something that will connect with us, connect with you. Please feel free to put it on the chat, and we'd love to connect with you again. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Pastor Kurt, and we'll see
Thank
you
you.
guys next time. Take care, everybody.
Yes.
Happy New Year. Bye for now.